Welcome to Mortgage Markets and More. I'm your host, Peter D'Angelo. Welcome to Friday, everybody. First full week of March on the books. I hope you all made it a great week. We've got our real estate update today. We'll talk briefly about the market, and then I want to dive into a topic of technology. I am one person who's fascinated by technology and all the innovations that continue to happen. So I thought, let's talk about that in the context of real estate doing business in 2024 and beyond. First and foremost, let's just talk. We had an exhaustive episode last week going over January's data and sales numbers. We're starting to see some more inventory popping up, and I think this is the perfect time to mention that there is a disparity across the country. And as we talked on Friday last week, certain regions perform differently. I'm positioned in New Jersey. That's where my business is. I do most of my business here in North Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, and some in Florida, South Carolina. But where we are, particularly in North Jersey, the inventory is super low. And it's a struggle for people to find quality homes. And if they do find quality homes, the bidding wars are still pretty intense in a lot of respects. That is not the case across the country. There are other areas where price reductions are happening, and I figured, let me share one anecdote from my week last week. And I was speaking with a friend of mine who was interested in purchasing a property in Florida, a condo, as an investment property. I was like, great, we've got some excellent programs. We can go over to see what we could do for you to do that. And he told me that the property was listed for $525. And his real estate agent had suggested, oh, well, we can start the conversation for making an offer at $475. And I nearly fell over, mainly because you would have gotten laughed out of any real estate office here in North Jersey talking about an under asking price bid. And that is something that's common. There's a lot of inventory that sparked me to take a look and see. And there's a lot available in Florida and in other markets. So I can only take that as a sampling to show that there are some other markets that things are more healthy, let's call it, and that there's some inventory and there's options for people. But where we are in North Jersey, unfortunately, we're not in that position. Things are still very competitive. There's still multiple offer situations as commonplace for anything that's halfway decent and anything that shows good value to prospective home buyers. That being said, things will start to change, in my opinion. I'm not going to spend too much time on rates. Monday's going to be a really exciting one to listen to. We're going to delve into Fed Chair Jerome Powell's presentation on Capitol Hill this past week, which is setting the stage for expectations for mortgage rates beyond just the normal Federal Open Market meeting and Fed Chair Jerome Powell making his announcement of what they're going to be doing. That aside, things are starting to soften as we're ending off the week here, the first full week of March. That can mean that people are going to start jumping back in the game again. And we could see some more competition a la January into early February before rates started nosing upward toward the end of the month in January. If you are interested in buying, there could be another little sweet spot of timing right now where you can get a lesser rate than what has been commonplace for very long. And I would suggest you pursue that and at least just taking a temperature, go through the pre-approval process, see what the rates are now, get a sense of what your buying power is, and that will just prepare you moving forward for when the opportunity presents itself or when you are very serious about buying and identifying a new home to purchase. As I said, we want to talk about technology a little bit. Full disclosure, full transparency, I'm a nerd when it comes to technology. I am heavily involved in the use of AI on a daily basis. It is a tool, in my opinion, that helps me to be more efficient, helps to preserve my bandwidth so that I can spend more time doing things that reward me insofar as helping clients, having quality conversations. The more bandwidth I have to do that to support my partners, referral partners, real estate agents, clients, attorneys, the better off I am in providing value to everyone. And I see and have identified for quite a bit now that AI is certainly the tool that can help me in my business professionally and personally so that I can be as effective as possible in all respects. I'm not going to spend the whole time talking about AI. It is a component of this, but let's take a look at what's available from a technological standpoint that is very useful in real estate and how that could be driving changes in some respects for the real estate market. first and foremost, we've all probably cruised on Zillow, checking out properties, whether we're in the market or not, just for casual fun. And virtual tours are almost a standard now. That wasn't the case for a long time. And the technology is getting cheaper. That's one of the cool things about tech. When it first comes out, it's normally very expensive. There's a barrier to entry. You got to have a lot of money. R&D goes into making those technologies, and then they become available. They've got to subsidize all of the money that was spent to create that technology. So at first, it's very expensive. But as time goes on, and as more people buy at the higher price point, that subsidizes the price point later on. Reason why I'm bringing all of this up is something like virtual tours a couple years ago could have been a very costly endeavor. And I'm not saying it's inexpensive now, but there are a number of tools available to make virtual tours accessible for more people, and something that is very effective. Most people are, if you're not going to work at the office, how likely are you to want to go out and see properties? You probably want to get a temperature before you go out. Virtual tours are servicing the new normal that we see post-pandemic. E-signatures, this isn't the sexy thing to talk about, but let's all be honest, it makes life a lot easier. I don't have a printer at home. Actually, I do have a printer at home, but it's very rarely used. And so e-signatures is a great way of keeping the process moving and keeping things on track from a timing perspective. That also gets supplemented by the fact that there are ways that you can close, and in some states, you can have a fully 100% remote online closing where all of your documents that you normally have to sign at closing, you can do via e-signature with a notary on a video call to verify your identity, do all the things that are required from the standpoint of the law, and you don't have to go to an attorney's office to do that closing. This is something you could do for a refinance. We have the capability at Guaranteed Rate to do these things, and I've found it to be tremendously helpful to a number of my clients. I actually, a couple months ago, had a client who was purchasing, and borrowers were in different states, and they got to close on the same day, at the same time, and got to leverage that remote online notary. It was in a state that permits that. New Jersey still requires a few documents to be physically signed. So we'll see if that changes in the future, but the technology's there. That's super cool. Blockchain is also something that is moving things in the real estate world a little bit. There are a number of companies and distributors that use blockchain for purposes of assets, for verification, and for the transaction. Artificial intelligence. Now, this is where I'm really getting into the meat of it, and I promise I'm not going to bore you too much, but artificial intelligence, AI, extremely helpful in streamlining processes and procedures. So for real estate agents, AI is a tremendous tool that can be used to create listing descriptions or even run through presenting and creating listings. There's a number of tools available, a couple that come to mind. Other than just using ChatGPT, there are real estate specific ones. There's Jude AI. I played around with that for a few months. I saw some value in using that and helping to leverage that technology to help with what you're trying to do as far as setting up a listing or trying to create a draft of a document. This is all within the capabilities of something like Jude and other platforms. And then there's also the component of sales management. So CRM is thrown around a lot in the sales world. I use a CRM. It helps me to make sure that I'm getting the most out of my network, that I'm staying in front of all the people that I need to stay in front of. And there's some really great AI-driven CRMs, one of which is called Cloze, C-L-O-Z-E. I use that on a daily basis, and it is a tremendous, tremendous resource to me. And it is geared toward real estate agents, funny enough. But I found a use case in my world, and it really does do a great job of aggregating your journey of communication with your clients and with your prospects and with your referral partners. It takes a little bit of time to make sure it gets set up to be of service to you in the way that you already provide your service, so that spending that extra time on the front end saves you hours, days, possibly even years across a career down the line. And it does a great job of that. So just a couple that I wanted to plug. I am not sponsored, just sharing my personal experience, and they've been pretty great. The other thing to consider is that there's augmented reality. Let me take that again. And essentially, where we have virtual tours that were a little bit less accessible and now more accessible. That's paving the way for essentially a world in the future where I see you can put on your Oculus or your Vision Pro from Apple, whatever your augmented reality or completely VR headset is, and you can actually tour a home. And in addition to that, these augmented reality headsets are going to very likely become a little bit more ubiquitous. And one of the nice things about that I see a use case, particularly for real estate agents, how many times have you had the conversation with clients? You've got to see past what's here. Now, what if you don't have to rely on your client's imagination to do that? You can say, oh, you know what? I actually preset some renovation ideas or some decor ideas for the space. When we go do our walkthrough or when we go to the open house, push this setting up to your augmented reality glasses, whatever it is. And when walking through the property, walking through the home, you would be able to see the vision of what could be there. That could be a really cool experience for buyers to have, and that could really help sellers because if the property's not 100% updated, that can help people to understand where they can go. You tie that into the fact that you can get quotes quickly. That's the fast-paced world that I see that we could possibly be heading toward. And you would not only be able to see what it could look like, you could see the dollar signs and how much that could cost. So these are a few technologies that I wanted to highlight that are pretty cool. It could be really helpful as we go forward and as these technologies just get better. That's how they work. It's called Moore's Law. I'll nerd out for a minute. Technology builds upon itself. So whereas you kind of have a straight line that goes straight up, and that's improvement, but technology doesn't work on that. Technology works on an exponential curve, meaning that the curve goes and doubles over periods of time because you have all of the technology preceding that is now feeding into the new technology. So imagining where AI could be going, last week or 2 weeks ago, we saw ChatGPT release Sora, which is a text-to-video generator being offered through OpenAI and ChatGPT, and the results are pretty fantastic. I didn't actually use it yet, but I've watched a number of videos. I watched the release of it, and the videos that are there are pretty stellar. I was fooled, and it's very interesting. There's a lot of other conversation on that. But let's move on to some of the other benefits that these technologies will wind up giving to real estate agents, real estate professionals, and also the end consumer, the home buyer and the home seller. Having these technologies available creates transparency. There's an ability to see through more of what's going on in a property. It also, from a data perspective, can provide more transparency in the information that's available. Again, we talked about efficiency a number of times. If anyone's got the bingo card and they've been checking off, we've said efficiency quite a lot. And that's another thing. That's another benefit that this new technology and the continual development of this technology will pave the way for the real estate industry. Accessibility is another component. We were talking about augmented reality just a short while ago, and that's a huge possibility. The virtual tours is kind of the baby step toward that, but being able to have access from anywhere and see a property and get a good sense can really help home buyers be effective, help real estate agents be effective, and at the end of the day, all of these benefits and all these technologies help us to do the most important thing for our jobs, which is to generate a meaningful relationship with our clients, with our partners. And the less time we have to spend on the processes and the procedures, the more time we get to spend doing the right thing, at spending time focusing on these relationships. It's really wonderful. Other things that are benefits of this new AI world and all the technology available are the insights and the data. One of the benefits of AI is the fact that it can take large swaths of data and you can tell it what you're looking for and it will be able to identify those trends. I know that Compass Real Estate has quite a well fleshed out platform that leverages AI to get market insights and data so that they could be more effective. Those agents could be more effective. And I see a world where that becomes more ubiquitous as well, where just as everyone says, oh, did you Google that? It will be, oh, did you AI that? And that will be kind of the vernacular that I see possibly happening in the future. With all of these technologies, as I mentioned, it's expensive at the beginning. And then as time goes on, it gets less expensive. that will also wind up happening. So now there's going to be reduced costs for all of these technologies. And then also there could be reduced costs in the process of doing business. If you have technology that's being leveraged to help the processes and procedures that you don't need to take part in, that's time. Time is money. Less time that you need to spend, less money, that could be a more cost-effective environment for the end consumer, as well as it being something that's beneficial to the professional themselves, the real estate professional themselves. So as I mentioned, I jumped the gun a little bit, but here's a couple case studies. So Compass has AI to analyze market data and provide personalized recommendations to home buyers and home sellers. That's super cool. That's fascinating. I have heard great things about how effective that is in the market right now, especially as things are very volatile and things are fluctuating quite a bit. Notary Cam. This is a success story about what we discussed with closings. It's a way that you can have a notary present to perform their services to support the closing of a real estate transaction, whether it's a purchase or it could even be for a refinance. Propy is another platform that I would include in these case studies that leverages blockchain technology to facilitate the property purchase process, and it provides secure and transparent transactions. Whereas, unfortunately, there have been times where real estate has been the victim of fraud, and that was something that was on the rise even just a few months ago. This type of blockchain technology can certainly be a solution to mitigate those risks. As far as future trends, we talked a little bit about, augmented reality. There's also a whole conversation that could be had about the metaverse and what that will look like, where there's going to be meta property and property in a metaverse. It didn't really take off. I'm interested to see where that goes. But for right now, that we do see that as a possibility. And, through the resources that I check preparing for the show, I noticed a number of articles that were written about, and very insightful, I might add, about the metaverse and having property and what that looks like and what that could be like in the future. The other thing to consider is that with the advancement of these technologies, there's also technologies that will be improved in the home. So obviously, Nest thermostat is a very commonplace thing right now, but that wasn't the case for very long. And nowadays, you can set schedules, you can see your energy efficiencies through Nest, and they keep a track record of all these things. That's pretty cool. This is falling underneath the umbrella of what we call the Internet of Things, IoT. I know, another acronym, and it's not even a mortgage episode. My apologies. But the Internet of Things is the technologies that all connect through the internet and can create a network to work together for a desired result or for purposes of monitoring. So security cameras, Nest, refrigerators that have technology that are falling under the umbrella of Internet of Things. There are some refrigerators that are able to tell you when you are out of something, and they know your spending habits and how frequently you drink the milk or, eat the eggs or cook the eggs that you have. And it, in a smart way, allows you to set up your grocery list by automatically just checking with your fridge. This is Internet of Things. It looks very futuristic. If you look back at like the Rocky movies, you could see like the future. I think it was Rocky 4. Oh my gosh, my very good friend will hate me for this if I got that wrong. But suffice it to say, these futuristic things from the 80s are coming to fruition now, and they could become more ubiquitous, and that could be a value component to real estate. Is it a connected home? Is it a smart home? There may be a way that service providers will completely envelop the property so that you would have access to all of the relevant data and analytics for your home so that you can make sure that you fix things before they get broken. You can repair things that are broken immediately before they cause larger issues. This is what the Internet of Things can offer. There's also Proptech startups. So these are startups that are developing technology specific for the real estate industry. AI driven in a lot of cases, providing market data and research and analytics, but also can help with sales, can help with finding the right places to target for your business to help your business grow. These are all things that are possible. that's it for me for today. I appreciate you for letting me nerd out for quite a while, talking about technology and all these things. As you can tell, it is a passion of mine and something that I am very fascinated by. We'll probably keep checking on this on a regular basis, maybe not every month, but would love to share with you some new technologies that may be available that I uncover or that I hear about that could be beneficial to you. Again, I encourage you to like, share, subscribe to the show, share it with those of you in your circles, in your family, in your friend groups that would benefit from learning about real estate, mortgages, and we will start to have some bonus episodes soon. Within the next month or so, I'm excited to give you a little bit more of my personal life and personal pursuits, creative pursuits, which we'll get into on a couple bonus episodes on the horizon. For now, I hope you have an awesome weekend. I'll be back on Monday with your mortgage rate update, diving into everything that transpired this past week as far as interest rates go. Have a wonderful weekend and take good care.